Hey everybody, welcome to lessonswithtroy.com. I'm Troy Brenningmeyer. Well, in this lesson, I'm calling it Intro to A6 Tuning for the lap steel. Now, this can work for either 6-string or also this new 8-string that I'm going to be teaching on. This one I'm going to be doing all my new lap steel lessons on is this 8-string lap steel here. It's made by Bill Asher. And before you guys get all freaked out about 8 strings, for all you guys that don't have an 8-string, you just have a 6-string, all you have to do if you have a 6-string is just, when I'm teaching, just ignore these 2 lower strings. This would be string 8 and string 7. And then just from 6 all the way to string 1 will work for you if you just have a 6-string lap steel. So why learn A6 tuning? Why is it a good tuning to learn? Well, first of all, there's really 2 big reasons. For all my C6 students out there, it's learning, C6 lap steel, CEG, ACE. You can tune your lap steel to A6 tuning without ever having to change the strings. So you can leave the same gauge of strings on there and just tune it to A6 tuning, and it works great. For all my dobro students out there that's wanting to get into lap steel, A6 tuning is a great tuning because it's really similar to a dobro tuning. It has that root third fifth in 2 octaves with the sixth of your chord right in there too. Now that's if you have an 8-string. So this can be applied, like I said, to either people that have an 8-string lap steel, or you can apply everything I show you today to 6-string. Just forget about those 2 lower strings. So in this one, we're going to be going over a lot of chords that are really useful in A6 tuning, a lot of just really easy scale shapes. I think, major pentatonic, minor pentatonic scale shapes. And, just get kind of a good general understanding of this tuning. And A6 tuning is great for Western swing. It's great for like old time kind of Hank Williams style country. All the stuff you've learned in C6 tuning, you can apply to A6 tuning as well. And a lot of the stuff you already know, if you're a dobro student, you can apply those shapes to A6 tuning as well. So it's a really useful tuning, and I use it a lot when I'm playing out. So let's go ahead and get started with Introduction to A6 tuning. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about would be the string gauges that you can use for this tuning. So like I said before, if you have a C6 lap steel tuned CEG, ACE, you're fine with the strings. You can tune it to this tuning. I'll show you this tuning in just a second. Now this Bill Asher model, it's a student model 8-string. Once again, looks like this. Now this is modeled after the Alan Akaka model 8-string. It's just a much more scaled down version. It's basically all mahogany and, none of the bells and whistles like Alan's version. But this came with these gauge of strings. As you can see there, 70 on the 8-string and all the way to 15 on your thinnest or your 1st string. That being said, I did a little research on A6 tuning, and there's a website by John Ely called HawaiianSteel.com, and it's got all kinds of great information on lap steel and tunings and string gauges and all that. So I have his site pulled up here. Let me switch over to my lap steel view, and you can see, and I'll go through what he suggests to use for an A6 tuning. So on your lowest string, and you can Google this too probably, and get, just Google A6 8-string lap steel strings. So he's suggesting a 52, so 0.052 on your thickest string. Now let me go over this tuning too. That's going to be an F sharp on your 8-string. Now for all my 6-string people out there, don't freak out. Just you're going to be working off of this string here, your 6-string through your 1st string. So just ignore these 2 low strings. But for people wanting to learn 8-string, we got an F sharp, and that's a 0.052. And then your 7th string is an A, and that's 0.042. That would be, so we got 8, 7. Your 6th string here, that's a C sharp, 0.036. and then, so 8, 7, 6, 5. I'm still getting these strings down. Fifth string, that's an E string, 0.030. That's E. So we got F sharp, A, C sharp, E. Okay, and then it just repeats from basically your fourth string to your first string. That's an F sharp on your fourth string, 0.026. And then your third string is an A, 0.021. Second string is a C sharp, 0.017. And first string is an E, 0.014. So those numbers that I'm saying, that's your string gauges. Like I said, you can Google A6 8-string gauges or strings. You can go to John Ely's site. I highly suggest to go to that site anyway. He's got a ton of information for lap steel. That's hawaiiansteel.com. And then what came on this one, like I said, this Bill Asher model, student model 8-string, is a little bit different than what I just said to you. But it seems to be a little bit more thicker on your low strings. Like he has a 70 on this 8-string, which is a lot thicker than what you might find on just getting regular A6 strings. But you can do a search for that too. But let's go over this tuning once again. It's basically the same from your 8 to 8, 7, 6, 5. So 8 to 5, and then 4 to 1. So it's F sharp, A, C sharp, E. And then it repeats. F sharp, A, C sharp, E. So what you end up getting here, check it out. You've got, just like a dobro, you got root third fifth within there. So let's start with our higher strings. We got A, C sharp, E. 3, 2, 1. That's root third fifth of your chord. Now if you move down here to strings 7, 6, and 5, you've got root third fifth. A, C sharp, E. And then on strings 4 and 8, that's where the sixth of your chord is. So you get, just like dobro, you get this root third fifth, root third fifth. So if you think about it and you just remove in your mind, if you can kind of take these two strings out, your 8 string and your 4th string, it's basically just like a dobro, just up a whole step. But all the shapes and everything on dobro will work. And also I'm using just my regular dobro bar here for this. So nothing too fancy. Not the round bar. You could use a round bar, but for me, I'm just used to this dobro bar. So all that, like for all my dobro students out there, like your X shape that I talk about. All that works on strings 3, 2, and 1, and then the same thing on strings 7, 6, and 5. And then for my lap steel students, check this out. So normally, C6 lap steel, C, E, G, A, C, E. That's root third fifth, and then sixth root third, right? So that if you take your standard kind of C6 tuning, or that tuning with the third of your chord on top, that's pretty much just like that would be the second string would be the third of your chord, and then root sixth, and then that goes C, E, G, or root third fifth, let's say, sixth, root third. So these middle strings here, the 6 middle strings, let's say, that would be just like the intervals of C, E, G, A, C, E. As far as root third fifth, sixth, root third, root third fifth, sixth, root third. So then you have all those shapes that we've learned so far in C6 tuning with that third on the top. You have that right in the middle there in this A6 tuning. So all your shapes that you've learned in C6, if you just move them down a string, it can work for A6 tuning. I hope that makes sense. Hope it's not too confusing for you. So let's review a little bit. dobro students, you got root third fifth on strings 3, 2, and 1. You've got root third fifth on strings 7, 6, and 5. For C6 students with that the third of your chord on top, just think about it being from strings 7 to 2. All these 6 strings, root third, fifth, 6, root third. So it's a beautiful blend, I guess is what I'm basically trying to say, of dobro and lap steel. So everything that I've learned on dobro, I can apply to this. Everything I've learned in C6 lap steel with that third on top, I can apply to A6 tuning. So it's a beautiful blend of both those. Whereas before with lap steel, I didn't have that fifth on top, so I couldn't do all the kind of X pattern and but now I've got that all those shapes, and I've got that 6, so I can get some real lush sounding chords too. So let's go over now the tablature, and I'm going to show you a bunch of these chords. And before we get going, because I know this will be in the sample, I want to show you real quick one really cool thing. So you've got root third fifth here, right on your strings 3, 2, and 1. That's a major chord in A6 tuning. Now, because of that 6th within there, if you just move that up a minor third, but everything down a string, you got the exact same chord, but the minor version. So say on her 7th fret, there's an E major, right? Root third fifth. Now, if we move that up a minor third, which would be 3 frets, but we move everything down a string, so on strings 4, 3, and 2, now we've got a beautiful E minor chord. It's the exact minor version of my E chord. Same thing. If we go down an octave, we got root third fifth, and then move up 3 frets, which would be a minor third, but everything down a string, we've got an E minor chord. Okay, so now let's go over all the stuff I've got written in the tab.